Whoa, I
Oh,
wasn't done, but
okay.
all right.
That's what I was like. What's
No, no,
going
no, no,
on?
no, no, no. It's all right. Let's change the tracks. So what's the next
What were you gonna
thing? What's
say?
going on? No, I was just saying. It's like it seems like there was like a theme throughout all three topics,
What
but
three?
that was it.
There's only two.
Well, your Pokemon with the guy trying to
Yeah.
get into your pants of a Pokemon, then my thing with my customer with the deception and betrayal of his wife
Well, that was
behind
the
his
same
back,
topic
and
though.
then
That was the same.
yeah, but just three different instances where they're all kind of like deception's always around us, y'all.
Well,
That's
you
why you
know
gotta
what's
keep your
crazy
third eye
about that?
open.
Because I wanted to bring this up, but I don't know if it's gonna be another hour-long session. But anyway,
Hope y'all got
it's
time
really
today.
funny that first of all we talked about those two things. Now you're bringing this up because have you ever thought about, or actually, how wild is it? How like innocently and ignorantly we take in information. Let me explain.
Please.
So
I feel like I was like walking and
the
then
wall
like
just
all the lights
appeared.
turned off and a stage light just got put on me. I'm
Yeah.
like,
So not you, but like everyone, like me included, right? Like if it's from a source that you trust, you're never gonna question it, right? So like, let's say I just told you that story about the Romanovs, made the whole shit up.
you wanna know what's interesting that you bring this up as far as like the information that we receive and how we
Uh,
interpret it?
uh,
Cause literally the other day, and you guys just gotta go into my brain real quick. I was literally like, like we see all this stuff on the news with like, especially with politics, how they'll portray a certain image and spin it in order to
right.
like project a certain perspective to the masses, right? And then a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't watch the news." So like I watch, like stuff on YouTube or I get all my news from TikTok or Instagram, right? Or whatever, or influencers, right? And I was just thinking the other day, I was like, "Well, you watch all these people, right? And like how do you know where they're getting their information from? Right?
Exactly.
Because you watch all these things where people are like, oh, you should have an apple a day. Actually, apples are bad for you. You should have 8 ounces of water. Actually, you shouldn't. It's like everyone's telling you something different, and it kind of got me thinking about the Bible because everybody has an opinion or perspective on the Bible, and it's like you could take in the information of what people tell you, and even people that you trust, right? But at the end of the day, the only way you're going to truly know God and have your own relationship is like if you read His Word for yourself, and you have the interpretation. So I don't know, all that stuff just got me thinking about an idea for a song that I was gonna work on that was called Misinformation, and how like everywhere where we turn, like it's kind of misinformation. It's up to you to like use your discernment to figure out what's good, what's bad, and who's telling you the truth and who has ulterior motives. Because people can tell you things for their own, for their own good in order to manipulate a situation. And if you don't know any better, you're just walking into the dark and going based on that trust with that individual. Like, okay, well, why would this person lie to me? So I'm going to trust this
That's
information.
exactly my
And
point.
I don't want to. Yeah, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, and maybe we are, but
We're
like,
already
say
falling.
double check everything, but like double check everything because at that point it's almost like a conspiracy of
No, but
everything.
honestly, that's where it
Go
is,
ahead.
right? Because it used to be, if you search it on the internet, whatever you found was true. Except for maybe like in
Mm-hmm.
late college, like, oh, you can't cite your sources on the internet, it has to be blah, 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 blah. But now, it's probably worse for the students now, because back when I was in high school, the internet was a very reliable source. Now, it's really not. It's literally, and I don't want to compare it to the Bible, but literally, like, you have to know which one is true and which one is not, because now, especially with AI coming out, like, all the crazy shit that they're doing, like, articles, scientific documentaries, like, anything could be fake. Back in the day, too, like, the internet was real, except for, like, Wikipedia pages could be edited, like, by anyone. And then Urban Dictionary came out,
Yeah.
which could have been, whatever. Not that that was a source, but I'm saying, like, it started being, like, a little more malleable. And now, 2024, it's literally like the internet is not a reliable source, especially social media, because people are just creating those things. So, like, even this podcast, I literally could check out our last podcast, guys. I literally just told Chris the entire story of like the last Romanov family. It could very well have been like misinformation. I mean, hopefully it's not, and like it's not that I told him something wrong on purpose. I could have made a mistake because I'm a human, but like the point is,
You're not AI.
AI be making crazy mistakes though. But anyway, the point is,
Yeah.
like, how crazy is it? Like, the actual question, right, is how crazy is it? How easily you would trust somebody when they said anything. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a lot of times like people that you trust, but also people that you don't even know on the internet. Some TikToker could just be like, guys, guess what, blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to spread this information. And then you've said it so many times, your friends have heard it so many times that you now think that it's true and you never did any research. But then again, we're put in a position, right, where we can't do the research. I don't have a fucking lab in my basement where I can check if COVID-19 mutated again. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. So
Yeah.
I'm really relying on all these sources, and it's just like, well, what's the win-win then? Is it like a certain person I believe in, or is it like, oh, if there's 10 articles and 9 of them say this, then it must be true? You know what I mean? Like, and wasn't that debunked too? 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this toothpaste. Not a single dentist recommended that toothpaste, honey. Not a one. Like,
Not even Alexia.
so it's really like, honestly, how, and it's not that I'm like, go question everything, but yeah, do it, because it's really like, I think to myself, right, if I'm like, oh yeah, remember when I tell you, Chris, like random facts, and you're like, how'd you know that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then it's just like, well, I could go back to where I got it from, but like, you in a sense trust me enough to where you would go repeat what I said to someone else and speak on it as if it were actually true. And it should be, right? Because you would trust me. So like, whoever I get the information from, it should be the same way. Like, I'm not out here like, oh my god, I saw this one video on blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm literally like, you know, I want like visual facts. I want like more than one, you know, thing. I want to be able to look it up. I want this and that. But like, there are things on the internet, especially, that we cannot confirm.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that, because I always think that when taking stories or political or even outbreaks, pandemics, even in relationships, right? Like, I'm not going to go too deep into this, but let's just say with family dynamics, right? Sometimes, like, there's always, what's that saying? There's 3 sides to a story. There's your side, their side, and then there's the truth. And every time you're hearing one person's side, you're hearing their perspective of it. It may not be true. Like, humans unanimously are not the most reliable source. You see this happen all the time in court when they ask to identify a witness or whatever, and oh, I saw somebody, and this happens all the time. So it's like, you definitely have to take things with a grain of salt, but I also think there's a part of us where it's like, we kind of want to let that guard down and not have to be like, oh, I gotta do tons of research to like validate this, and just be like, oh, I want to trust this person is telling me
Of
the
course,
truth.
because that's also like a bunch of time,
Yeah.
right? That it's not that I'm like, it's not worth my time, but like, I hope that like when you tell me something, I don't have to literally be like, hold on for like 30 minutes or, you know, 2 days, like, I gotta see, and then, okay, now I can come back and answer you. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, another thing about that too is like, I think that also goes based on the person's character that you're interacting with. So if I have an experience with somebody, and most of the times the experience I have with them is like bad, or like they make poor judgment, or they say stupid things. So if they tell me, oh, did you know this? Automatically, I'm going to be like, well, on the last 10 experiences I've had with you, you've kind of shown me pretty
No, that's
stupid.
totally fair. But again,
So-
someone that doesn't have a track record with you, someone who you saw on the internet that has something and they're showing you proof and they're showing you this and that, even that you can't even take anymore, because people be faking documents, people be photoshopping shit. So it's really like, have you...
True.
Yeah.
You're right, because even, I'm sorry, just really quickly, because you're right, because even when these people put out these PSAs, right, because I was going to say, like, well, you know, if somebody admits to being wrong, like, that, to me, that's a good sign, because it's like they're showing humility. But nowadays, going what you said with social media, people will admit that they're wrong just to save face, just to save image. They don't mean it. Like that whole thing that happened, bringing it way back with the whole Diddy thing, right? He was denying allegations.
Oh yeah, we did a podcast about that.
Is
His
gonna come to
apology.
light.
Go check it out.
Yeah. And then he did his apology, and he apologized because the video came out. So it's like, I can't even trust the apology where you admit the wrong, because you're only admitting it because you got caught. If anything, it shows me more of like how bad your character is. And I want to have faith and be like, oh, like, I think most people are good. But in my experience, it's like, sadly not. Because even in my line of work, people lie for no reason.
Not
They
in
just
your
lie.
line of work, in everything.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I can only speak from my experience. Like, I will go to houses, do the job well, and then the customer will be like, oh, I didn't like how we did the job, even though they gave me like a $50 tip or whatever, right? And I'm like, I thought everything was cool, and they'll lie just because they want 20% off. They want some money back. So my point to it is like people will just lie for no reason just to lie, and I'm not even gonna say this as like, oh, I'm a good guy, just like as a good person, right? I think it's very hard to operate in this world doing that because there's so many people that. Because think about it, if you're trying to be a good person to like maneuver in the sinful world, like it's difficult because then you're seen as weak or you have to overcompensate for all the evil that's in the world. And I truly think like a good person isn't someone that's like, oh, I'm good. I think a good person is like, I don't know if I'm good. I'm just trying my best. Like that's
Yeah.
it. So like these are things in my life as a discernment that like I've kind of had to like come to these crossroads. And so it's interesting you bring this up with this misinformation and the info that we receive because it shows like you don't know where it's coming from. Like you see it all the time in the Bible. Like I just saw a debate the other day, and forgive me, I'm rambling, but you know it's my turn. Here we go. No, so really quickly, you know that they were talking about trans or like gay marriage, and you know that verse that always gets brought up from the Bible that's like, oh, and so this guy who was pro-trans or pro-gay marriage was trying to say, oh, can you tell me a Bible verse where that says that? And then the guy was like, well, did you also know that same verse in the Bible also says that they also do not want interracial marriage? That interracial marriage is also a sin. But then when I actually looked up the verse both of these people were referencing, it said nothing like that. They were just projecting their agenda onto it. And if you were somebody listening, you would just take it. But like, oh, well, I'm pro-gay or I'm pro.
Yeah, like, oh, they won that argument. Yeah, because no one's going to be like, hold on, here's my Bible. Let me double check while they're still in the middle of a debate. Yeah.
Exactly. Because if it reaffirms your beliefs and your agenda, you go on about your day. And I tell you, like, I think as a person, like, we should learn to challenge our own agendas and the things that, you know, we believe in. Because at the end of the day, it's probably a corny quote, but it's true. I believe the mind is like a parachute. It only works if it's open. You know, so you had to stay open-minded. You had to stay open to growth. And to see a lot of people that kind of just stay stagnant in their growth because they're like, no, I'm stuck in my ways and that's that. So it's like you won't receive any new information. You won't adjust the way that you're maneuvering in this world because you got a new piece of information. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people just too stubborn. And the second you affirm with them, I talk about this all the time, people like to be in echo chambers. They like to hear back the things that they're saying instead of be challenged. And then on top of that, they can't be challenged without getting emotional. Like, we could agree to disagree, and I don't have to be like, well, you're stupid, or I hope your kids die. It's like, why does it have to go that far? We just don't agree on this ideology. It doesn't have to go there.
Yeah, people be sensitive. Well, I think, too, like, the internet is so advanced now that it's almost actually putting us backwards in time, like, back to the times where there was very, like, limited communication or, like, you know, only, like, letters or word of mouth and he said, she said, blah, blah, blah. Back then, you know, people were, like, I don't know, probably assholes and lying on purpose as well. So the internet is connecting us on that way, but it's the same. It's literally putting us back in those times where it's, like, you know, the deep fakes or like people will take a clip or even video edit a clip of you saying what they want you to say and it's literally you saying it, but like you never said that in that order. So it's almost the same thing where people could be like, oh, I heard that there was a letter from the king and he sent it to this guy and blah, 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 and he said this and everyone's like, oh my gosh, blasphemy, blah, blah, but like, and that never happened, but they're just saying it to like get whatever they wanted. But again, we're doing that now. Just the internet is like a tool to make it done faster, but it's also manipulating and all this other stuff. So it's really like, I don't mean to be like but like to take everything, literally everything with a grain of salt, because it's getting harder and harder to decipher like what is actually like fake anymore. I mean,
yeah, it's like we're literally like all lost because it now is too much information.
And I wouldn't be surprised, by the beginning of next year, if AI like fixes all that crap they do with the nightmare videos and whatever, and like they actually make like, because they already have like celebrities talking in other languages. They already have, you know, your photos, family photos coming together where you guys can hug again. Like they already have that. So a couple more months, like we're cooked. We're literally cooked.
Yeah, it's over. By next year, we won't be able to tell the difference.
It's sad, yeah, because it's like the internet was actually a great thing, like to spread information and keep people from being isolated or ignorant or uneducated. But now it's like, I don't know, going too far. It's like it was inevitable. You couldn't stop it. It was like a snowball rolling down like a mountain. There was literally nothing that could have been like, oh, well, the internet's only forever going to be good. So kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And here I am on the internet on
this.
YouTube trying to tell you about it.
Yeah. Well, think about this, right? Like every invention made by man at some point in its history was made or perverted to cause damage.
Every
to cause harm.
single one.
So, like, it may have started with good intentions, but then eventually got perverted into something else. So, like, what does that say about us as a species, as a race?
I mean, we don't deserve to be here.
Every good...
Huh?
That, like, all the good that we try to do eventually gets turned bad. And that kind of, I guess... It's a full circle moment when I was saying, like, the people who try to operate in this life with good intentions are always going to have to overcompensate for the shitty people in this world. Because, like, you take Oppenheimer, for an example. I think he's a great example with the atomic bomb. He was creating it for different reasons. Not to drop it on Hiroshima in Japan, but, he can't control what the government
classic example. That's literally, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, he might have had the right intentions and in the pursuits of science to create this thing, but then the military had war aspects with this, like how they could practically use this to harm somebody else. So it's like, no matter what you do, I mean, going back to what Alexia was saying, even now with the AI, which I think is fucking disgusting, right? It's that AI should be used as a tool to help us, just like the internet should be used as a tool to help us. But now you have sick fucks who took these deep fakes or this AI technology to now take photos of women in bikinis and make them nude, like undress them, and then start OnlyFans accounts without these people's knowledge and profiteering off of them. I'm sorry, but that's just scummy behavior.
That's so crazy, and that's like, I'm afraid to go on TikTok Live. I don't post TikToks as much anymore. And it's not like, oh, poor Lexi and her TikToks. That's not the point. The point is just like, why should I have to, you know what I mean? That's almost the same thing. Like, why do I have to sort of like be home before sunset so I don't get attacked? It's one of those. Like, why are we like this? Why are you like this? Like,
and it's interesting you said that, right? Because what you just articulated is the opposite end of the spectrum.
Well, yeah.
Because one is like, I operate in the world and I receive all this information and I try to use my discernment to navigate through it, but I'm aware of what's going on. Or my other choice is just close myself off from the world and be ignorant to everything. And when I do decide to pop out, it's a whole different, I don't even know what's going on. And now I'm even more of a victim because I pulled myself away from it.
Right. So,
I
mean, I guess, open minds are forever, like, just in general, always better. But anytime, you guys receive some information, whenever you have time, go check it before you spread it again. That's all I ask.
Yeah, also check your own biases and your own personal agenda. Because a lot of times we try to project that because we want to be vindicated or approved in something. And
we're all guilty
of that.
To be everyone, wrong. So don't worry.
100%. But yeah, that was an interesting topic that you brought up because that was literally something I was thinking about the other day.
That's funny because I was thinking about it for a while and I was like, you know what? I don't know. I feel compelled to bring it up right now.
Well, let's look where we at now.
Look at that.
Great.
Well, guys, we've made it to the station, I guess. Took a while, but here we are. Thank you so much for bearing with us and clicking that play button. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube. That is like numero uno, Behind the Struggle. Spotify, Behind the Struggle. My Instagram can be found in the description, as well as my TikTok is at Asexia.
Guys, you already know me. It's your boy CEO. You can find all my stuff at thisisceo.com. If you want to follow me on IG, it's The Real CEO. And if you want to message us about anything with the podcast or questions or maybe subjects that you would like us to talk about, you can email us at ceonlex@gmail.com. Not N, but N.
The letter N.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so with that said, We have now reached the station. Please stand clear to closing doors, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Bye.